Hey everyone, it's Maribel Blue with a new Unfiltered. Today we are going to be covering Nolan Wells. So if you are new here, welcome to this channel. Please take a moment and consider subscribing. It is the best way to comment because comments are only for subscribers. And if you're interested in joining, there is a join button and there's also a thanks button. All the good things that YouTube provides if you enjoy this content. And if you are not new, welcome back. The same goes for the people who continue to support this channel. I appreciate you all. So we are going to get into Nolan Wells. This is a big story. It's every day online. I don't know how much of it is every day in the news. I mean, I can walk by the television downstairs here in my house and I don't see anything that's related to Nolan Wells. Don Lemon has been talking about it. Law and Crime has been talking about it. And now they're saying that Nancy Grace has entered the chat. Yes, it's true. Nancy Grace has not been talking about Nolan Wells. She actually has been talking about David and Celeste Riva Hernandez, which I will also be talking about at some point and update you because I said I was going to talk about David. I believe there is an update with the court case and what is happening there. So please look out for that video as I will be talking about that on a separate video. Okay, so let's talk about Nolan Wells. Okay, Nolan Wells disappeared on July 4th. His body was found in water as the newspapers and the news. And when I say the news, I'm talking about independent media online. As it has been stated, I know TMZ has been covering this extensively, sharing videos. Law and Crime with Jesse Weber of Sidebar has also been covering this. And as I said, Nancy Grace has also entered the chat, so to speak, in covering Nolan Wells. Now, I was watching Don Lemon. I watch Don Lemon every morning and I try to watch him every afternoon. It seems as though he was a little miffed with Nancy Grace. Like, he was happy, but when the comments were coming in about she starts off her shows with saying bombshell and they're all sitting there. Well, we already knew this. It doesn't matter whether you knew it or not. Don Lemon may have a different audience than what Nancy Grace has in her audience. And maybe her audience isn't aware of what's going on with Nolan Wells. So yes, the more people who talk about this, the better. We must not forget Nolan Wells. Do I believe something nefarious happened that day? Absolutely, I do. Something happened, and somebody out there knows. They have shared a phone number, a tip hotline. They are talking about reward money. I mean, there's all of these things going on because, at the end of the day, money talks and bullshit walks, as they say. So if you do know something of what happened, don't be afraid to come forward. Something did happen. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and play the video of Law and Crime. I just want to say this. The family did hire Ben Crump. He is a civil rights attorney. He has been representing the family. And we're going to go ahead and play this video and discuss.
What were the circumstances that led to Nolan Xavier Wells entering the water? Last time we saw him on the videos, he was without a shirt. Somebody saw something. Somebody knows something. Why is Nolan Wells dead?
That question has hung in the air since July 4th, since 18-year-old college football player Nolan Wells vanished from a remote island only to be found days later under circumstances that still don't add up. The independent autopsy results for Nolan Wells are now in, and what they found, I'm going to break it all down with you with an expert who can tell us what this all really means. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. So look, we have all been waiting for answers in this case. The family has been waiting for answers in this case, waiting for something, anything that could tell us what really happened to Nolan Wells on that island. His family has been waiting patiently. The public has been watching. And today, finally, we got something. The independent autopsy results are in. Remember, the family had commissioned that an independent autopsy be conducted. There seems to be this level of perhaps distrust in the investigation from the state ME. We know that they're being represented by attorney Ben Crump, and Ben Crump just stepped up to the mic this morning to tell us what they found. Now, briefly, a lot has happened, okay? A lot's been going on, but most importantly, to give you an update here, Nolan Wells' life was honored this week. There was a massive service. There was hundreds of people. Reverend Al Sharpton delivered the eulogy. Tyler Perry covered the costs. And before that service ended, Sharpton made a move that got everyone's attention. A $50,000 reward for information leading to a conviction in Nolan Wells' case. Perry matched it on the spot. $100,000 now. That's the total for whoever knows something that could lead to a potential conviction here. Assuming for the moment, by the way, that a crime was committed. The FBI has stepped in. They're looking into threats that were tied to this case. Tells you how high the temperature has gotten. And all of this is happening with the possibility of a grand jury looming. Look, as far as we know, after a meeting with the DA, Ben Crump said that the DA indicated that after the sheriff's office investigation, they may present this case to a grand jury. No timeline yet, but a possibility as we're awaiting the official results of the autopsy, right? Because I want to be clear, what I'm about to get into is the results, the preliminary findings of the independent autopsy, not the state medical examination's autopsy. We've been tracking every development in this case, and today, Ben Crump made this huge announcement standing at the podium at the NAACP convention with the preliminary findings. We know that Nolan Wells' body was moved to Washington, D.C. Again, the family commissioned this, they ordered this. And these are the findings that provide our first independent look at what happened. Now, before we even got to those findings, Ben Crump laid out why this fight for transparency even exists.
I want to thank you all who have called the call center. I want to thank Reverend Al Sharpton. I want to thank Mr. Tyler Perry. I want to thank Mr. Terry Owens for putting up the $125,000 reward for anybody out there who have information so we can get to the truth of what happened. I mean, any videos, and we've gotten so many videos, President Johnson, from that day from young people, and we want them to have the courage to come forward with the pictures. What you heard, I know people said there were a lot of disturbances out there. Some believe it involved Nolan. All of those things are important to get to the truth of what happened. And so that's why I thank you all for being here, because this news is as important as any news in the United States of America, finding out why is Nolan Wells dead.
Losing a child, it truly breaks your heart. It is a pain that is just, you can't measure it. Especially someone like Nolan, who brought so much joy and light and life to everyone. You don't find too many genuine people like him. So to lose that light at such a young age under these circumstances has been absolutely difficult, which is why we've gone this route. There's so many people out in the public asking all of these questions. But the only question that we have is what happened to our son.
So I'm going to say this, and people may not like it. I really don't care. I was on a live the other day. I'm just sitting in the chat. Normally for lives, I like to be parked in the chat. Every once in a while, I will participate and make comments, depending on, what live I'm watching. And in that live, I read a very disturbing comment. A person saying that she hired Ben Crump, Nolan Wells' mom, Christine. She hired Ben Crump for clout. And all of this that's happening is clout based. Now, this is not to say that the person in the live that was running the live advocated for what was said in the comment. As a matter of fact, that person was saying that the people in the chat were just being diabolical and losing their minds. They were trying to make a point of an interview that Christine had done with another political commentator that does YouTube. Okay. And I'm probably going to talk about that at another time. I'm not going to talk about that particular interview right now. But what I do want to say is there are people like this piece of shit, and then a young lady who was saying that all of this is fake and all of these conspiracy theories. Why would anybody go to such extremes? First and foremost, would you prefer to chase clout as opposed to having your son existing and growing and building a family? All of that ended on July 4th. All of that ended for the Woosley family. So why would she want to be on this stage having funeral expenses being paid for, a reward being put out there for someone to come forward? Because there has to be somebody who knows something. And in addition to have the autopsy, the independent autopsy come back, why that type of clout? Someone explain that to me. Why in your brain? And then the other thing is, oh, well, how come the autopsy report? This is a preliminary autopsy report. This is not even the whole thing, because I'm sure they haven't gotten any toxicology report back yet. Where are people's brains right now? And this is not a political thing. I'm talking about, where is the critical thinking for anything in life? Not just politics, where you're sitting there saying, well, where is that? Where is this? Where is that? Do you not read? Do you not research? Do you not go on the internet and find out where, maybe how long things take to get done? In your mind, Christine Woosley is doing this for clout. How sickening is that? How sickening is that to say that out loud in a live where clearly this particular person can have 900 to 1,000 people in that live for the whole world to read? Where is the empathy? People are living too much in this conspiracy. That's why when I see people with the whole conspiracy theory, I shut it down right away. No, I'm not going to participate in that bullshit. You can take your conspiracy theory and have fun with it if you want. And there's nothing wrong with that, for as long as it's not hurting anyone. But once you start putting it out there, which I've seen people do, and acting like this is real life information, you've got to get your head checked. Now I'm going to go ahead and fast forward over to the lady that Jesse Weber had introduced. She, I don't know what her title was. I'm just going to fast forward to that part, and we're going to go ahead and play that part. And I just want to say there is audio issues. I don't know what was going on with the NAACP audio issues. I haven't seen other videos to know if there was like that kind of static coming through, but the audio issues was coming through this particular video, as far as I know.
At this time, he said the body was received after the initial autopsy. He said the body had marked decompensation.
So what do you hear? Cause undetermined, manner undetermined, this red discoloration on the back of the head. But this is where it gets interesting. So according to Ben Crump, he claimed the United Cajun Navy found Nolan fully clothed, face down, even though Crump pointed out that the last picture we have seen of Nolan wearing the swim trunks with his friends that's been circulated everywhere, he's not fully clothed, right? He's not wearing a shirt. And you have this last video of him, or potentially of him, this newly surfaced TMZ footage recorded at 2:23 p.m. on July 4th, which appears to show a man arguably matching Nolan's description on a boat wearing the same blue swim trunks that he had in that famous photo. Again, shirtless, if that is him. However, this just came out. So the United Cajun Navy took to X and they said, Attorney Crump, we didn't say Nolan was fully clothed when found. He was wearing only swim trunks. Please don't misrepresent our words. Now, this is another issue to try to make sense of what the condition of Nolan's body was. Okay, so I want to make sense of this. I want to try to understand what all of this means. I'm bringing on one of our favorites in this space. This is Dr. Nada Rutherford, Richland County Coroner. So good to see you, Doctor. I knew you were watching this live. We were watching it live. I know you were taking a lot of notes as we were trying to make sense of this. There's a lot of different areas here to go into. I guess I'll just start with the big conclusion from this independent autopsy, and you tell me how limited independent autopsies are. But the fact that it came out that the cause and manner of death are undetermined pending investigation, is that something that surprises you? Or and what do we mean by this? What do we take away from this?
Number one, given the circumstances surrounding this case, I am extremely disappointed that an independent autopsy was not performed from the beginning. Yes, the state has a responsibility to perform the autopsy, but even the county coroner said, I want no parts of it. I'm sending this to the state ME's office. So if they were going to do that, they should have given this family the option from the beginning to have an independent autopsy, because things are missing from this independent autopsy that, as a mother, as a community member, don't sit right with me. Number one, if you are going to hold back any parts of the body, I feel as if the independent examiner should have known that from the beginning, and a report of what those findings were should have been sent to him. Yes, it is customary to hold back pieces of the body if you're going to examine them further, but why? What was there that you needed to examine? And why have you not discussed this with the family? Transparency as a public official, especially in the role of coroner, where you are expected to perform an independent autopsy outside of the police's investigation. I feel that the coroner and ME's office has not been transparent and upfront with this family, and that is very concerning to me. Why would you hold back the neck muscles? Why would you hold back?
Let me play that portion of the press conference right now.
The anterior inner neck structures were absent, not received with the body. The trachea and the laryngeal cartilage, the thyroid horn, and the hyoid bone were not received with the body. Therefore, this pathologist cannot rule out injury to the neck as a contributor or a cause of death.
Dr. Rutherford, why would those pieces be removed? And are they being tested? You make a really good point about why that wasn't communicated to Dr. Mitchell, right, the person who was conducting this independent autopsy. But why would those pieces of a body be typically, or I don't know, is it typical to remove them, and for what purpose?
Yes, it is typical to remove them. Whenever an autopsy is performed, we are removing those internal structures so that we can further examine them, not only from a visual standpoint, but from a microscopic standpoint as well. Now, when we look at the neck muscles, we look at what's called the strap muscles. So if you kind of, just to give you kind of an idea, these are your strap muscles, okay? But right here sits your esophagus, sits your trachea, sits your hyoid bone. They specifically mentioned that the hyoid bone was not included in the body when the independent examiner received it. That's a significant point for me, because that means that they are checking to see if the strap muscles had hemorrhaging, meaning signs of strangulation. Petechial hemorrhaging is very important, but also bleeding into those muscles. The hyoid bone, examining that bone, being able to remove the soft tissue from it to check for signs of trauma, like a fracture to that bone, is crucial when you're thinking about possible strangulation or someone being choked, hit in the neck area, blunt force trauma. The other thing that's significant for me with this is that they could not determine whether or not intracranial hemorrhage occurred, which again is problematic because there was discoloration to the back of the skull. They noted it. They measured it.
I was going to ask you about that.
Why was that not disclosed? And if there was no underlying fracture, fine, but why not say that? This family should know more than what they know. Even when we get cases like this and we have questions, we still tell the families what little we know and tell them, hey, things could change, but here's what we have right now.
Okay, I'm going to stop it right here. There is a lot in this video. I will link it down below. I will also link another video of the Law and Crime that talked about when I think the autopsy report, or before the autopsy report, when they were talking about the video at the beach that TMZ had released to the public. I'm going to put all of that in there. But I have to say this, in listening to this doctor and talking about receiving not the entire body and why things were missing, of course, is going to raise suspicions as to why these body parts were missing. I agree with her. I would have had the independent done first. So now, because the independent was done secondary, there are more questions than answer as to why that part of his body was removed before that independent autopsy was performed. You know, we are not living in a good place right now. For anyone to sit back and think, well, why are we making this about race? Because it is about race. Believe me when I tell you, if the roles were reversed, if we look at that picture and it was 3 black boys and 1 white boy, and that 1 white boy went missing, they would round up those black boys and have them in a prison until there's answers. This is the fucked up world we are living in right now. And I need for everyone to pay attention. Stop going in fucking TikTok thinking you know all the answers and that everybody in there is an expert. You know, you have your doctors that are experts now in there with no degree. You have psychologists who are experts in there with no fucking degree. Everybody is a psychologist. Everyone is a fucking doctor. You're not. You are a person utilizing a TikTok app and just talking shit in there. I talk shit in there, but I don't present myself to be an expert of anything. A lot of people on there need to shut the fuck up. And I said what I said. Let the experts handle what is going on, and I will come in here and share as much information as I can. If people have missed information or not have videos to watch to stay informed, I will go ahead and share those videos down below. And with all that being said, this is Maribel Blue signing off. As always, remember, be good to yourself, be good to each other, and most importantly, take care of you. Bye, everybody.